Welcome to another episode of the Entrepreneurial Edge podcast, where we spotlight bold thinkers, change makers, and creative visionaries who are pushing forward culture and building the powerful brands from the ground up. Today, we're diving into the world of media, storytelling, and purpose with none other than Adell Henderson, entrepreneur, creative strategist, and the founder of Acknowledgemint magazine, a platform dedicated to uplifting small business owners and the community, spotlighting and highlighting voices in the community and excellence through shifting the narrative around Black and Brown communities. And that's what his purpose is. Adell has worn many hats in the entertainment industry, but we're going to talk about all this tonight. From a journalist to content creator, and now as a force behind Acknowledgemint magazine. He's on a mission to recognize brilliance and give flowers to people while they can still smell them. So we're going to find out all the things that he does and how he got started and the vision that he has for the future around storytelling and what it really takes to build a media brand with soul. So whether or not you're an entrepreneur or someone just looking for real talk and inspiration, Acknowledgemint magazine is for you, and this conversation will be for you too. So I'm going to bring Adell in, or he's already here. So Adell, how you doing, bro?
Oh man, I'm doing great, man. I feel like, man, who's this person? Who's this person? Sound familiar, man. Sound like a good man. Who's this person you talking about?
But I tell you, a lot of people may not be familiar with you because you're that guy that nobody really knows, but you're in every room and nobody really knows. So can you share a bit about your background and how you came to create Acknowledgemint magazine?
Man, we don't have enough time. Even with this being a podcast episode, we
don't
have enough time.
Do I need to put a time limit and say we got 30 minutes for this session?
Goodness gracious. No, I'll attempt to do
I
this
tell you
short.
what. Yeah, tell me a little background, but I'm really more concerned with what was that aha moment that sparked you to say, I'm going to start Acknowledgemint?
So overall, as you mentioned, Adell Henderson, born and raised Flint, Michigan State graduate. I've here in Atlanta since 2009, but prior to that was in LA for 10 years and New York before that. And so I've been in the media space now. I want to say this is year 31 overall, and in print, I think this is year 27. Definitely, spent a lot of time in the lifestyle space, entertainment, community, education. And one thing about being in Atlanta since 2009, even though I, was back and forth quite a bit as a kid since my mother's down this way. But one thing I noticed is like, man, Black people in particular thrive in so many different areas, really in all areas, all capacities, all industries here in Atlanta, like I've never seen anywhere else, right? So, sitting up with some buddies of mine, I would just ask like, man, why isn't there like a premium business, lifestyle type magazine that exists that's really sharing these stories of all of these different entrepreneurs, C-suite execs, philanthropic leaders. I mean, just all this amazing Blackness that's happening down here. Why isn't there like this premium Black enterprise type lifestyle magazine that really, really puts a lot more concentration on these amazing individuals, that weren't necessarily celebrities or former athletes or influencers. And so after a while, it was just like, man, I'm going to have to be the one to create it. And, from there, that's when Acknowledgemint was born about 2.5 years ago.
So the name Acknowledgemint, does it mean something, or tell me about the name Acknowledgemint?
Yeah, so me being a journalist for quite some time, wordplay, that's one of our things. And so I did, it's a lot that comes with the name. So, I spent quite a bit of time wrapping my mind around like, what is the name of this thing? What could it be? How could it, just have these different layers and serve the purpose without, just being as obvious as some people are when they're, doing a name. So When I finally landed on Acknowledgemint, MINT, I was like, you know what, that's it. Because, ultimately we're looking to acknowledge, the great work that's being done, the amazing people that are doing the work.
Gotcha.
But the underlining story when it comes to the mint part, that's the power of the black dollar we don't talk about enough.
Yeah.
Because I
Okay.
wanted that to always be a part of the ongoing narrative because I don't know, man, it's like, I don't even know if it's every election cycle or as far as the major election cycle, every 4 years. But we only talk about the power of the black dollar every so often, and
Yeah.
it should be an
Yeah.
ongoing narrative. When you really
Yeah.
look at the studies and see how much money that we spend out and how little time that it circulates in our own community. And so I wanted, that to be embedded in the
Okay.
name
All right.
of the publication and the overall movement because I wanted that to be something that we constantly talked about and kept it on our minds to say, hey, come on, we got enough money to sustain ourselves if necessary. And now here we are.
So tell me this: on your entrepreneurial journey, I was going to ask you what challenges did you face, but did you and are you facing launching a media brand, and what are some of the things you've done to try to overcome some of these challenges?
Well, one of the biggest challenges of launching a media brand, for me in particular with this publication, is the patience
Yeah.
that it takes to get the idea out of your head onto the paper.
Got
Right? Because as I mentioned, this is something that formulated over time, for
Okay.
like at least 4.5 years, before I decided to, make the jump and start to put the steps in place to create this into a real thing. And so I knew that people wouldn't really understand it until they got a chance to physically see it, because the goal since day one was to not only create a digital product, but also print, which isn't as popular these days. So what are you doing
Right.
print
Right.
for? That's what
Right.
I would
Yeah.
always hear. And so people thought I was, tripping, attempting to do something not only in print, nice paper, right? A nice,
Yeah. Yeah.
heavy,
Yeah.
glossy, it had to be that, because I knew in order for this thing to go and be successful and to let people know that this is a premium product, I had to present it that way. And so going to the challenges is one, the patience of, people not understanding, but, me, finding ways to be persistent, tracking people down, like Marc Parham and be like, hey man, you don't know me, but I need you to meet me. I need you to touch this preview
Yeah.
issue that I
No.
printed out to give you an idea of what I'm looking to do. I had to stalk people like you,
So you
in
know what?
order
That kind
to
of that kind of goes in the next thing I was going to ask you. What does it take to build a publication from the ground up in today's media climate? So you're kind of
listen.
answering that question.
You know firsthand. We go back and do an acknowledgement, documentary. You're gonna be one of the first people that's in it because you are one of those ones that when again, when it was still an idea before our very first publication went out, a little over a year ago, I was certain people that I had listed, like on my wall who I needed to connect and build with who could help us be on the pathway to success. And you were one of those people.
Well,
Like you were one of those people, me doing my research as a journalist, people, listen, people who I knew that as I'm putting together this formula of a product, I need certain people to strategically align with who I feel as if would get it. And once they understood what I was looking to do, they could help me, move the publication forward.
so let me ask you this. Now you have a lot of unique voices and different focuses. How do you choose which stories and voices to highlight?
Based on what feels right. I mean, it's like with you get certain people in different fields. They're like savants. Like when you look at LeBron James in basketball, he's a savant. Tom Brady in football, he's a savant. It's just certain people musically they just get it. Certain people they're just great with numbers off the top. Oh man, they'll calculate things in the count like they just get it. When it comes to the journalism space, I've put in my 10,000 hours. This is something, a muscle that I've developed over time, launching other publications, being a part of other great publications and storytelling, adventures, throughout, my career. And a lot of the things that we won most with over time was, it was rooted in your gut.
Gotcha.
It just, things that felt right. Even if it didn't seem as popular back then, being able to pay attention to what's going on in pop culture and understand trends and understand that sometimes it's okay to be first if you feel that passionate about it. And
Mhm.
fortunately, I've had a lot of success in that space. So that's what made me extremely confident with,
It's kind of interesting because you kind of answered my question. Like the next question I was going to ask you was, how do you
I'm a
balance? Yeah,
journalist, man. This is
yeah,
chestnut
okay.
checkers, man.
I was going to ask you, how do you balance the artistic expression with the business goals? And you just kind of explained that. I think it's important for people to understand that the work that you do, and I'm going to show some of the graphics on it, is artistic. And we were talking earlier this week that balance of artistic and business. That's a hard balance. It's not easy to do. And so, how do you do it? I mean, do you know when to stop or when to say, okay, that's enough?
No, ultimate, like I said, man, I feel very blessed, to be in a place, to be in an industry where I put so much time in to where certain things just feel second nature, right? And I pay attention to people. I pay attention to news and trends. I'm always scrolling, seeing, what new information is coming in, whether it be hard news, whether it be something that's, based around pop culture. But I love information. I love to be educated and informed. And so as I speak and meet with people like yourself, as I go to these different events, these conferences, when I, just, hear different people speak, I'm able to, sort of, digest that and figure out like, okay, how do I, slice and dice this and formulate an article or formulate an issue of
I
a
put one of
magazine.
your covers up, year in review, and I mean, it just has so many quality people on it. So that's why I was asking you the question: where do you get these people from, and how do you select? Now, I guess the question would be, people may want to start contributing content. What kind of content are you looking for?
Again, just starting from the idea of a premium business lifestyle magazine, right? And fortunately, to your point, we've had a calendar year go by where you could go back and look at the type of content, that we've been putting out with our publications and some of the things that we put on the website, some of the organizations we've been aligning with, and some of the events that we put together. You could get a feel for the
Yeah.
type of content, the type of people. Again, and when I tell you a year ago, it was like, oh my gosh, how do I help people understand what the vision is? Now, at least you have some things that you can reference. But the whole idea of black excellence kind of sounds cliche. That term has been kind of overused, but
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is. And it's so much of it that's going around that is going underappreciated, underrecognized. And so we're one of those spaces to where we want to tell those stories and we want to get the information out there that people are missing.
You just did it again. I was gonna representation, and I want to talk about the community for a minute.
Hmm.
Representation and culture seem to play it's a major role in your magazine. Why is that important to you?
Because it's like, why would I come into this and looking to reinvent the wheel? Ultimately, this whole thing is about culture. It's about black culture, which influences pop culture, which influences what goes on globally. So for me, I want to be a conduit, by creating a platform, to tell these stories. I'm not looking to, create something all by myself. I mean, that would just not be
Well,
smart. So I want to align with organizations like the Gathering Spot, organizations like, the Urban League,
right.
organizations like the Atlanta Black Chambers,
Gotcha.
the Village Market, who are out there who have been doing the work. And we can all play a complementary part into sharing this ongoing narrative that aligns with all of our goals and our visions and our mission.
So, can you share a story or a moment from either somebody that's been in the magazine or a contributor or a reader that really affirmed the purpose of what you're doing or affirmed the purpose of the magazine?
You know what? I'm glad that's an amazing question. I'm glad you asked that. You know what? I'll start with that preview issue that I showed up to your office with, right?
Okay.
So that preview issue, who have now, a buddy of mine, Melvin Davis. I was just meeting him around the time that I was, formulating who I was going to put on the cover of the preview issue prior to us getting our premiere issue done. I put together, I think it was like a 12 or 16 page preview issue to give people a snapshot of what to expect when the actual magazine came out. And so that guy who ended up being on the cover, small business, entrepreneur, name is Melvin Davis. He does jackets, custom premium varsity jackets. The jackets that he's most known for is ones that he's done for Deion Sanders over at Colorado, and also when Deion Sanders was coaching over at Jackson State University. And so, him being able to connect with Coach Prime and do these jackets, I mean, that's, taking his business to a whole other level. So I want to showcase, okay, that there's a black man that's originally from Detroit, went to Clark Atlanta, University, who's a Kappa, who lives in Atlanta, who's making those jackets, for Coach Prime. I want to be that, like, that's a part of the overall goal of what we're looking to accomplish with Acknowledgemint. Fast forward to 2 issues later, we had our premiere issue that came out last February with Ryan Wilson and TK Peterson from the Gather Spot. But that second issue, full issue that we did 5 different covers, but one of the covers was of Coach Dale McGee, which is he was at that time the new head football coach over at Georgia State University. And so, awesome, amazing guy. The reason why I bring those two up, that was a relationship I was able to create between Melvin Davis, the guy who does Deion Sanders jackets for, head coach of Georgia State University. Oh man, you're showing me some samples of your work. Oh, that guy right there, he does Deion Sanders jackets. I need to order a couple for myself. Okay, cool. Not only am I going to go ahead and connect you, but you know what? My guy Melvin, he's been attempting to get Georgia State University as an account so he could license his gear and he could start making Georgia State University gear to be a part of his brand. But he can't get a call back. What? You know what? Let me make a phone call right now after I introduce them. Hey, this is my guy. Name is Melvin. He does great work. Y'all need to go ahead and push his work through. Just like that, Melvin now is an official.
Wow.
He has an official license to sell Georgia State University apparel. Not just jackets, but also T-shirts, hoodies, like all kinds. And it's like, that's what this is all about.
That's outstanding. So tell me this, from a business and branding standpoint, how have you positioned Acknowledgemint in the media market? What sets it apart?
What sets it apart is I'm not competing with anyone. Like, I'm not competing with anyone. Like, there are other phenomenal magazines that I am fans of. I don't go to Barnes and Noble. I don't go to the grocery store. I don't go to any of these stores that sell magazines without stopping and flipping. Like, I'm addicted.
You don't say anything. I don't either. There used to be some, but not anymore.
I don't like. I'm a fan, so I'm not competing with anyone. I think that's one of the main differentiators.
Very unique.
Yeah, space. I'm all about collaboration.
All right.
I mentioned before. So overall, the publication Acknowledgemint is a quarterly publication, but from the beginning, we've always had the mindset of not only do we want to put our signature classic Coke version of our publication out every 3 months, but we want to collaborate with other organizations and do these special editions because we feel as if we can help organizations and other movements, tell better and broader stories. Some of them, that's just not what they do. Gotcha. So you know what? Let's partner and help to amplify the great things that you are doing with our special edition model. And so far within this first calendar year, I think we've done like 5 or 6 different special edition issues, partnering with organizations like the Atlanta Black Chambers. We've done two issues with them. We work with BESLA, which is the Black Entertainment Sports Lawyers Association. They've been around 44 years. We work with the Black Economic Entertainment
Entertainment.
Council, Atlanta Cigar Week. So it's like that's one of the things that, like I said, it's just unique. So even if there are other publications, the Atlanta Voice,
Right.
historic Black newspapers celebrating 60 years in business, we're partnering with them. We're not like, oh, let's, we're competing because we're both media. No, what things can we do together? How can we collaborate, share content, share experiences, do events together? And we're the same way with other, magazines. If it makes sense, let's align. Let's see what we can do together.
So tell me this though. You've been talking about, because I think your affinity is for the magazine, but you also have a digital footprint. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah. So when I initially was throwing the idea around, and I had some early partners, who wanted to come on board and invest, and they totally were like, "Nah, we should 100% go digital.
Yeah.
We should do print at all. Print doesn't make sense. Why would we spend money on print? And it doesn't." And I just would not go away from the whole idea of print because I knew it was going to be very important. But I've been in the digital space at least 25, 26, if not longer, years that I've been, in media. I've also spent a lot of time, in the digital space doing online magazines, blogs, podcasts, social media. So that's extremely relevant. It's extremely, important. And there's no way, we could win without doing digital. So again, so we do our print publications, but every single publication that we do in print, we also offer a digital version, which is also, a flip book, to where you could get that link to the digital version of the publication. You can see every photo and every page as if you would see it if you physically had it. You could flip through, you can enlarge it and read it, and the quality is still good. So digital is everything.
That's the digital of the magazine, but you have a website, acknowledgement website, that has content on it as well.
We do
Yeah,
have the website.
I
We
think
have
it
the we
feels
have
like I think it feels like a stepchild to the magazine, though.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Listen. You're 1,000% correct. That's one of those things that we're planning to get a lot more engaged with. In year two. Year one. I definitely will admit much of that was spent being outside, being on the ground, pounding the pavement. Putting these physical copies
Gotcha.
in people's hands and people's
Right.
establishments. And so yeah, there wasn't as much attention put on the digital side. But yeah, we do realize now how important that is.
Okay.
So again, we're
But
increasing our strategic.
everything has a plan. So I tell you, speaking of plan, when we think about vision and legacy, what's your long-term vision for acknowledgement?
Man, that is so funny. Like Ryan Wilson from the Gathering Spot asked me that about 2, 3 weeks ago. I think the long term plan, as far as I could see it, is to definitely expand outside of the Atlanta marketplace, to
Okay.
go into different cities and states. And we do have a lot of content that translates into other markets.
You really do.
Yeah, but one of the things that, I spent a lot of time in the music industry, huge music fan. And I kind of, I kind of lead this company sort of like a record label in a sense.
Okay. All right. All right.
So when I'm peeling back some layers now. I'm about to give you some insight. And so like every one of the full magazine issues, it's pretty much like an album.
Oh, okay. All
Right,
right.
the articles are like singles, and
Okay.
and
All right.
so
All right. All
and
right.
even with the special editions, they're more like mixtapes,
Yeah, they are. Okay. All
right? It's a
right. All right.
variation.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how we've treated it. And when you think about the biggest and the most influential music genre to date, even though before when it first came out, people were like, it's not gonna last. But hip hop is the biggest music genre in the world, right? But we all know that it was rooted in New York City. It started in the Bronx, then it spread throughout the city, then it started to make its way
Okay.
throughout the
I see where
region.
you're driving at.
So Atlanta
All
is
right.
sort of like the Bronx.
Okay. All right. Okay. I got it.
You get
Okay.
where
I
I'm
got it.
going? And
Yeah.
so even though it's starting in Atlanta, it's gonna make its way
Yeah.
out.
I
You're gonna
got
see
you.
the influence, you're gonna see the input, the contributions, and we actually last week we just introduced our first issue that was specifically created for another market. We did a collaboration with my friend Courtney Johnston, who used a special edition as a fundraiser in Charleston, South Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
for a campaign that she's doing with the American Heart Association to help create awareness, for heart disease. And
Gotcha.
so, and that physical publication right now is being distributed in Charleston, South Carolina. So it's
Okay.
kind of cool, for acknowledgement, for it to be passed around in people's hands. Be like, what's this acknowledgement thing? And they could double back and I'm pretty sure learn some information not only about people in Atlanta, but just us.
All right.
Primarily are based in Atlanta based on the type of stories we've been telling.
Okay. I only got a couple more questions, then we'll wrap. But like, how do you define success? Not just for the magazine, but for you as a creator and an entrepreneur.
I define success based on win-win situations. Like that's what I'm about. It's like, yes, I want people to see the magazine, support the magazine. I want them to purchase ads. I want them to want to write.
Okay.
I want them to talk about acknowledgement when I'm not in the room, when the team's not in the
Gotcha.
room, when you're not in the room. But at the same time, I want this to be something that's going to be beneficial to everyone that's contributed.
Okay.
Everybody who advertises, everyone who is participating in a photo shoot, whether it's being hired as a photographer or
Okay.
being talent that's getting their picture taken. Like I want everyone to come out of this winning.
Okay.
I want everybody to come out of this winning. It's like probably about 3 weeks ago, I got a phone call, from an advertiser who purchased an ad for one of the special editions that we did with the Atlanta Black Chambers, and she's just reaching out like, I want to just let you know that I just did a radio interview 2 days ago because someone who hosts this radio show slash podcast saw my ad in your magazine and
Wow.
reached out to me. And that was my very first radio interview.
Wow. That's incredible.
So she was like, I want to thank you. That was my, and he said he looked through your magazine and saw my ad and gave me a call.
Wow. That's great.
That's success
Yeah, that is
to me.
success. That is, I agree. I agree. So tell me this, how can listeners support or get involved with Acknowledgement Magazine?
He said, listeners,
Yeah, the people that are going to listen to this
well,
podcast,
one, uh,
or creators, or people that want to, start putting out content or follow you or whatever. They want to get
I would
involved in the
say
acknowledgement movement.
I would say the very first thing is to to follow us on social media, follow us on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, follow us, go to the website, visit the website, um, comment, share the information, find the content, and let people know that we're here. Because I think once you see it, and definitely once you feel it physically, or digitally, I think you're
I'm
gonna
a
get it.
feeling. I tell you what, when that magazine's in your hand, feeling it is special.
Come on. Come on, man. It's totally different.
You know
Listen,
what? I don't have my bag with me right in front of me. I was gonna pull
when
out
I
a
when I tell
copy.
you I spend and that's another reason why I spend so much time outside pushing and promoting this thing. And that's one of the things too that I tell anybody who gets involved, whether it's from an editorial standpoint, whether it's from an advertising standpoint, you come on board with acknowledgement, you got an advocate. Again, going back to the idea of record labels, one of my first roles that I played working with record labels was being on the street team.
They got
I
you.
was
Got
going
you.
around. I was passing out those promotional singles, passing out free T-shirts and
So I tell
posters.
you what, on that, I was gonna ask you a question, an additional question, but you maybe answer. What's one message that you'd like to leave with young creators or entrepreneurs that are listening or watching this that want to get into this industry that you're in? What's the message for them? How do they do it? What's the message for them?
I need for them to understand that nothing in this world is new.
Okay.
So stop trying to again, don't reinvent the wheel. Find
Okay.
some people that's already done it, and whether you're able to create a direct mentorship situation with an individual in person, or whether you're sort of following them by reading their books, reading their blogs, listening to their podcast, the information is out there. Seek out the information.
Gotcha.
Nothing in this world is new.
All
Don't
right.
waste your time attempting to, I got to figure this thing out all by myself.
All
It's
right.
already been
It's
done.
already been
So
done.
find the information.
All right, my brother. I want to thank you for taking the time. I had to have my people contact your people, to get you on here. But
Come on, man.
but I wanted to thank you for the time you spent and the nuggets that you dropped. I can't wait to go back through and take a listen to this and just see all the things that you dropped on this, on all these different topics. I think the major thing that you got across was how important what you're doing is, because I think one of the reasons we're kind of in the situation that we're in right now is because people don't know where to go to get information that can help them grow and stabilize their lives. I mean, we're almost in a situation. I never thought you'd hear me saying this. And, as a photographer, I've been in media myself. There's too much media right now. I mean, we're like overloaded. And with all this noise, how do people know what channel to listen to? Where should I be getting my information from? Who can I trust? And I think Acknowledgemint for me represents that. Okay. I think the content that you have in there is telling the truth about what's going on. People you have in there, the people you're exposing, some of the issues, that you have coming up are going to be exposing people that are, you see that movie on the show on TV, the unsung heroes.
Yeah.
These are people that are grinding, okay, but nobody knows. And the people that I think you're showing show these people as average, not average, or regular people that I can have as a young person, I can shoot up for as somebody I want to be like. It's what's in my grasp. So I think to me, that's one thing that's really important about the magazine, is that it's showing the lives and stories of people that I can be like. I remember when I was growing up, Vernon Jordan, that was the person, that's me right there. Okay, that's my role, and that's the role I'm achieving in my life. That he was my idol, was Vernon Jordan, and of course Les Brown on the business side. But Vernon was number one for me. He was the person that I looked at and go, okay, that's who I'm modeling my life after. And that's what I did, and that's the kind of the path that I took to get to doing what I'm doing now. And but then working with young men like yourself and others has helped me kind of refine that, and so I'm working on it. But just want to thank you for taking the time to come out, and we got a long road ahead of us, but a fun long road though.
Absolutely. And I would just say one more thing. That's acknowledgement. It's like two words, the word acknowledge and MINT.
Gotcha.
On all platforms. Definitely check us out. And again, I was very intentional when assembling this team to get this publication out here, to get the movement out here, that the formula was specifically designed that we couldn't win unless we help position other people to win.
Yeah, outstanding.
That's the only, and it's like, as long as people understand that, I like to think that people will be supportive.
Right.
Acknowledgement does not win unless we put others in a position to win.
Right.
And so I'm good with that.
All right, good deal. All right, man, thanks a lot.